fourth and points allowed. They don't take the ball away, but they did get 2 last night. And so I like what I'm seeing. And the way Kyle called the game last night, and with those playmakers, you saw Christian McCaffrey getting involved. You saw citing of George Kittle, who's had a down year. Debo is Debo. Yep. Some way we got to find a way to get him the ball, and Brandon Ayuk showed up, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns last night. And Skip, this was really tough for me. I almost put Tampa in the 4th spot, but their red zone efficiency offensively is not where it needs to be. They don't score enough points. And so even though they got demolished on Sunday, I still got the Vikings in the 4th spot. I've searched high and low trying to find another team, but the teams in the NFC are really bad this year. They only got a handful of them that's played consistent football throughout the course of the year. So I put the Vikings in the 4th spot, followed by, if we had a top 5, I would have put them in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the 5th spot. But the thing that I don't like about the Vikings, they're scoring 23 points a game, but they're giving up 23.1 a game. So that's why they're minus. They're the only team that's 8-2, Skip, but they got a minus when it comes to points scored versus points allowed.
Okay. I find this whole concept fascinating. Mm-hmm. I find your ranking fascinating. In our Super Bowl repicks, I think you repicked San Francisco to win the NFC.
Yes.
And I anticipated you would leap to the conclusion after what we saw last night that they are the best team.
Nah, Skip, no Kyler Murray. I didn't expect them to do a whole lot with, Colt McCoy. Yeah,
he's actually played pretty well, but he is still Colt McCoy.
Yeah, and
I agree.
He was out there limping around. It seemed like every time they hit him, he grabbed a different body part. So I didn't expect much from them last night, and the 49ers did what I expected them to do, which was pound them. And they looked really good in doing it, but I wasn't going to overvalue. I still believe when it's all said and done, they'll be the team, but just not right now. Not right now.
All right. I'm going to deal with the 49ers first.
Okay.
That is an offensive juggernaut that Kyle has at his fingertips. And he is part of it because he's just the best there is.
Yeah.
At preparing, at strategizing, and then at improvising on the fly.
Yeah.
At play calling, there's nobody better than Kyle Shanahan,
right,
whom you watched sort of grow up in your locker room because your head coach was Mike Shanahan, his father, who I still think has significant input into these game plans.
Oh, he absolutely does. He spent a lot of time at the facility.
Okay, so ESPN pointed out last night that they are the yak attack because in the careers of a Kittle, in the career of a Debo, in the career of a McCaffrey, that they all lead the league in their time in the league in yak yards at their positions.
Yes.
Okay, I get it because every time you look up, Jimmy G is throwing some underneath something to somebody, and they're just busting loose.
Well, Skip,
right?
that's the West Coast offense is predicated on that. Let's get the ball into our playmakers' hand.
Yep.
You make a guy miss, you make things happen. If you look at Jared Rice, a lot of his stuff was yards after the catch. You look at anybody that's been in that system, been it with Brett Favre and Rodgers or Donovan McNabb. Look at Patrick Mahomes. That is the West Coast system because that's what Andy trained up under. So you look at you mentioned Kelsey, another guy, yards after catch. All these guys are yards after catch, and that's what you have to have in this system, guys that can run after the catch.
And every time I test San Francisco's defense, it looks potent and physical and fast to me. But to your point, in turnover differential, which is a telltale stat, they're not that great.
No.
They're tied for 21st in the NFL. They're -1.
Right.
Okay. Does that contribute back to, or is it attributed back to their quarterback? To a certain degree.
Right.
So my issue remains with the 49ers, as much as I fear and respect Kyle and the weaponry and the defensive firepower, you still have Jimmy G at quarterback, which is still shocking to me because I thought he was gone, and now he's at the helm, and they're near the top, right?
Well, Skip, we debated this. I said, Skip, I don't know why they're thinking about getting rid of him. And you can say, okay, Jimmy G, he doesn't have that it factor or that clutch gene, but he's one of the most unclutch guys that's gotten this team to a Super Bowl that we've ever seen. He did that.
I'll buy that.
And like you said, they had a 10-point lead. They were about 12 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl. And he missed the throw that might have would have got him back into the ballgame or kept them in the lead. So with that being said, he still has that, I understand. And he got a team to a NFC Championship game last year. He went to Lambeau. Now,
he did.
It's not as much as we thought it was, kept going to Lambeau and beating Aaron Rodgers. But he did do that.
I also think he's dangerous because he knows they wrote him completely off.
Yes.
And he knows he's sort of on borrowed time because he knows that Trey Lance is still the future.
Right.
So this is just gravy for him. He looks like he's playing about as freely as any quarterback in the league because what does he care?
Right.
He knows his days are numbered anyway, right?
But he's auditioning. There are 31 other teams. There are 31 other teams out there.
But he just looks like it's free time for him, right? It's on. We watch the big football matches, as in soccer. You know, they get stoppage time. It's like he's in permanent stoppage time, right? He's just on a lark right now, doing what he does the best he can do it. I still don't trust him at the highest level.
Okay.
So now back to my ranking. I'm all in on my Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
You can say I'm complete prisoner of the moment, and you, well, could be dead right.
Right.
As Jerry Jones said in his prelude to his Super Bowl talk that he did right after the game, he said, we've suffered adversity. We very well might suffer some more adversity.
Right.
Well, they might.
Right.
I also think they have a potential, when I look down at, we're going to break it down a little further when we get into our next block here on the show, but I still think there's a potential for the Cowboys to get on a roll and win out.
Right.
Starting with yesterday, Sunday, obviously, at Minnesota. Then, obviously, they need to take care of business against the Giants, and then they get their little mini bye, and then they get Indy, and then they get Houston at home, so they got a 3-game set at home.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, they go to Jacksonville, winnable, obviously, and they come home for a revenge game against the Eagles. Then they have to finish on a Thursday night at Tennessee, which is it's tough. It might be as tough a game as they're going to have all year.
Right.
You could make the case for, because they're so physical, and it's going to be cold at home against that. You got
to bring your big pads because you got to tackle.
They've had a hard time stopping the run all year. And then they have to finish at Commanders, who have found themselves all of a sudden under Tyler Heineke, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm buying Dallas, even though statistically I can't really buy them, except that they're number one in sacks and they've allowed the fewest points in the NFL. That's what I buy. So I buy Micah and company. That's what I buy. And we'll get deeper into it. It feels like the offense is starting to find itself. Obviously, Dak is back at quarterback. Tony Pollard is emerging as a superstar back to me. So I'm going to go Dallas number one. I got San Francisco, and maybe I'm prisoner of that moment last night. And I agree with you. The Arizona Cardinals are just crumbling right before your very eyes.
But they quit, Skip. There was a play last night. George Kittle caught a ball, and they got two Cardinals on the sideline. I'm like, what? They just quit.
Yeah.
That's how, Skip, that's how you get cut and get your coach fired. Because the GM and the owners looking at that like they quit on him. They quit. Skip, they quit. And I don't like saying that because I've been a player. Skip, they quit last night. There's no way in hell. You're not going to even push him out of bounds. You're not going to dive at his feet. You're not going to even make an attempt. At least, like the camera's watching, let me attempt like I want to tackle him. Skip, they let the man go right down the sideline.
You're on Monday Night Football, right? You're in Mexico City, even though it felt like a 49ers home game because, boy, those 49er faithful, they're everywhere. They're rivaling the Cowboy faithful, right?
But Skip, you mess around and get Cliff Kingsbury fired before the season's over. I believe he's done. I believe he's done after this season. But you mess around and you keep putting stuff like that on tape. They'll fire his ass before the season's over.
Okay. I got it, but that was still a showcase last night of everything right about the 49ers. So I have them second.
Okay.
And maybe I'm undervaluing the Eagles.
They struggled the last 2 games, Skip.
They're starting to show signs of vulnerability. The last 2 games. And it went to the wire, obviously, in Indianapolis, and Jalen Hurts said, no, I got you.
Right.
And he's gotten them all year, and he got them again. But you read the numbers off. They are number one in the turnover ratio, which they're plus 12. It's just the telltale stat. It tells you how good or bad a team is. They are plus 12, number one in the National Football League. You can't argue with that.
But, Skip, there's something the last 2 games, though. They had 3 against Washington. They had 3 on Sunday. So that's 6 when they only had 3 coming into the week. Think about that. They had 3, and all of a sudden they got 9. That's concerning because the turnover thing is starting to happen more frequently.
Agree. But our Bible, Pro Football Focus, it has them ranked number 1 in offense and number 1 in defense. Well, it's hard to argue with that because they've been doing that at a high level all year. except for these little signs of weakness
Right.
here the last 2 weeks.
Just hope they hadn't peaked too soon.
Okay. I have said this from day one. I believe my Cowboys will get even with them on Christmas Eve at Jerry World.
Okay.
It's on a Saturday night,
Right.
and then the Cowboys follow it 5 days later with the Thursday
night.
night at Tennessee.
Right.
So they get, like
Man,
an
y'all be
extra-
getting a lot of them. Y'all be getting a lot of mini breaks in there.
just a little break. At least
don't-
it's not a four day.
It's a 10-day break.
Okay, but right now we're only on a 4-day break because we have to play on Thanksgiving, albeit at home on our stage, right? And yet we have lost 3 straight Thanksgiving Day games, which have torn my soul out.
I don't
right?
see how it's for them.
Okay, and one of them was an Andy Dalton game, but 2 were Dak. The bookend games were Dak games.
Okay.
So we're going to right the wrong of that this Thursday against the Giants, and we will take a commanding lead. You can argue in the division, but we're still 2 games back of
Right.
that team.
Right.
And we got to get even with that team, and I'm still not sold that we can pass that team and
Right.
win the division. I'm not sold on that.
Right.
Which would mean that very possibly, if in fact we do make the playoffs, I'm not going to jinx it, so I'm knocking on wood, but you realize if we don't win the division, our first playoff game could be at San Francisco,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It well could be.
It could be.
All right?
Or
So,
at Tampa. I mean,
could be
you
at
definitely
Tampa.
could take.
Could be at Tampa.
You're taking your show on the road as a wild card.
Okay, I got it. I thought of this last night. I believe if we wind up at San Francisco, I think we can beat them this time. That's another revenge game because they made us look foolish and silly in the playoff game that we had because we won the division at home last year against San Francisco.
Yep.
We got out-coached. We got out-hit. We got outmaneuvered. We got out everything. We were not ready. You remember what happened right out of the box. They just took it to us,
Went
and
down
we
the
never
field.
really got back in the
Right.
game. Okay, I believe on the road, my team is, I don't know why, my team is more focused on the road usually than it is at home. So I would like our chances at San Francisco. We would definitely go in as an underdog. I don't know, 3 or 4 point dog.
It's
probably.
funny that I hear you say that you like your chances on the road more so than at home. Most teams want to play at home.
Okay,
I got my home crowd sleeping, my yada, yada, yada,
I
but
know,
you like,
but
nah,
it's
take my
something-
show on the road.
It's something about Jerry World's like.
You've never had a home field advantage.
It's like a national stage, and everybody is comfortable
Yeah.
there. It's like it's for concerts, it's for
Yes.
big events,
Yeah.
it's for a Final Four or a Super Bowl, but it's not really the Cowboys Stadium.
Right.
It's the World Stadium.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
All right. So then I got Philly third, but I still respect and fear them, and I'm going to hang in, even though you don't want to do it. I've got the Buccaneers at number 4.
I thought you might.
And you know, and I know what I've already told you last week when we repicked the Super Bowl. I didn't repick either one of my teams.